Jorge Masvidal promises to melt Gilbert Burns when the two lock horns in a highly anticipated welterweight co-main event at UFC 287. But with 3 consecutive losses and as many fights, the odds are heavily against Gamebred. Will he put his money where his mouth is? Let's take a deeper dive into the reasons why Jorge Masvidal will knock Gilbert Burns out at UFC 287. Jorge Masvidal is among the best strikers in the UFC's uber-talented welterweight division. A veteran of more than 50 fights, Masvidal has fought the who's who of MMA, and his experience is second to none. The Miami native is an absolute legend of the sport, but since he has quite a few losses on his record, Gamebred doesn't get the credit he deserves. And with 3 consecutive defeats in as many fights, many expect the Miami native to be a cakewalk for Gilbert Burns. Kamaru Usman begs to differ, however.
I think that is a spectacular fight. I think obviously we all know Gilbert Burns is grappling. Once he gets you down, you're in for some, you're in for some work. And believe it or not, Jorge Masvidal is a unique style for a guy to be a kickboxer, stand straight up. He's directly standing straight up, but he's so hard to take down. And I think that's not going to be as easy as it looks. I think that's a spectacular fight.
Burns is an extremely well-rounded fighter himself. His grappling is out of this world, and his striking, especially his power and aggression, make him a tough cookie to crack for anyone.
I respect you so much. I think you're one of the BMFs. You're a legend, over 50 fights. But brother, I have a lot of bad intentions. I respect you, but I still want to beat the shit out of you.
Burns is a fantastic fighter, but he still has a few chinks in his armor that Masvidal can exploit, which are his suspect chin and average defensive striking. The Brazilian has struggled against power hitters in the past. In his most recent fight against Khamzat Chimaev, he was rocked multiple times. Jabs seem to be his Achilles heel. He struggled against them when he fought Chimaev, and he was stopped by Kamaru Usman, who jabbed him into oblivion in their welterweight title fight at UFC 258. Masvidal is a far better striker than Chimaev and Usman. His boxing is crisp, and he hits deceptively hard with great speed. And if he manages to connect with some good shots, Burns will have his work cut out for him. Masvidal will also be extra motivated because he is guaranteed a title shot with a win over Burns.
I'm eager to get in there with Gilbert and utterly dismantle him to the point that everybody's begging for me to go and fight Leon. I'm fighting Gilbert,
yeah,
and I'm fighting Leon, and it's just I'm telling you that's gonna play out.
Okay.
I just got some insider information.
There's a storyline there to tell. So yeah, if he gets the job done, like I said, I'll have a look, I'll consider it, and if he begs me, then I might let him slide in.
Masvidal isn't a big welterweight, but his punches are thunderous. The fact that he was able to knock Darren Till out in brutal fashion is proof of his power. Burns has knockout power as well, but he doesn't have the technique to outstrike a specialist like Masvidal, who is also an adept stance switcher and punishes foes with shifting combinations once they adapt to a particular alignment from one of his stances. Masvidal's switch kicks to the body are another key element of his striking game that makes him so effective on the feet. Burns is a capable striker, but he's an even smarter fighter, and he knows the sooner he takes the fight to the mat, the better. Durinho used the same strategy against Stephen Thompson, and the likelihood of him trying to take the fight to the mat as soon as possible against Masvidal is also very high. All in all, Burns' striking defense is very penetrable, and Masvidal will capitalize on his openings to put him to sleep if he isn't careful. Grappling is Gilbert Burns' bread and butter. He's a multiple-time BJJ world champion who also happens to be a very fine wrestler. Durinho is a terror on the mat, which is why a vast majority of MMA fans believe he will take the fight to the mat and dominate Masvidal there. It's very likely. If Burns can wrestle and dominate a wrestling ace like Tyrone Woodley and a grappling specialist like Gunnar Nelson, Jorge Masvidal wouldn't pose problems on paper. But then again, Masvidal doesn't get the credit he deserves as a well-rounded fighter. Gamebred's defensive wrestling is solid. For a start, Masvidal's footwork is excellent and his hips are tough to penetrate. But even if his opponents somehow manage to take the fight to the mat, he's a hard man to control or punish.
Thoughts on the Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal?
Dude, that's an interesting fight because Jorge is hard to take down. He's not gonna fucking, he doesn't get taken down easily. He's got very good takedown defense, and he is still very skilled kickboxer. With that being said, I think that's a very, very interesting matchup.
Masvidal is very calm and composed off his back as well, and he doesn't absorb much damage or provide his opponents with opportunities to submit him. Kamaru Usman has fought him twice, and he thinks Masvidal is not as easy a fight as it seems. He's a very hard fight, and if he can stuff Gilbert Burns' takedown attempts, we should expect fireworks. Masvidal indeed struggled against the likes of Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, but those two are the best wrestlers in the division, and they are relentless with cardio for days. Burns' cardio is a bit questionable, although in a 3-round fight it shouldn't give him much problems. The fact of the matter is, Masvidal is hard to control on the mat and submit. In his 51 career fights, Masvidal has lost by submission only twice, and even a BJJ wizard like Damian Maia failed to work his magic on the Cuban American. That being said, Burns will take the fight to the mat. It's a given, but Masvidal will make his way back up, and he will get his opportunities to let his hands go. One perfectly timed combo, and it'll be curtains for the Brazilian. Masvidal has cardio for days, even at 38 years old. He did show signs of fatigue against Colby Covington in his most recent fight, however, but he was fighting with a lot of anger and emotions, which played some role in him gassing about a bit. Bilal Muhammad agrees. In the Colby fight, he fought with emotion, and that drains your cardio more than anything, is what Muhammad had to say in a tweet after Masvidal's fight against Covington at UFC 272. In a 3-round fight, Masvidal's cardio won't give him a significant edge, but it'll still be very useful, especially given the fact that Burns will try to wrestle right from the word go. The Brazilian will come out all guns blazing, and he'll be tough to deal with in the first round, but the second and third rounds are when Masvidal can use his cardio and strength to avoid getting taken now and touch Burns with punches and bunches and body kicks.
I think wrestling is not that good, so I know I could negate him on the wrestling takedowns and just keep his stand-up. And stand-up, he makes a lot of mistakes constantly. I feel, just looking at it from a striker's point of view, I feel he's like tailor-made for me to give him a left hook to the jaw and end his night,
Burns has made significant improvements to his cardio over the past few years, but getting punched in the face does take its toll on people, and Masvidal hits really hard. Masvidal also fights at a decent pace. He doesn't like to stall. He likes to go in there and put on a show for the fans. If he manages to stuff a few takedowns and touch Burns on the feet, he'll be in a strong position to finish the job in the later rounds. With that, we've come to the end of our video on the reasons why Jorge Masvidal will knock out Gilbert Burns at UFC 287. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the highly anticipated welterweight matchup as well, so do write to us in the comments. If you liked our video, please show us some love by subscribing and turning on the notifications so that you can stay up to date with all the latest happenings in the world of MMA. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.